Hello and welcome to another episode of the Good Boxing Podcast with your host, Josh Sias. Welcome. I wanted to touch on something that I really found interesting, and that was, is there a potential matchup or exhibition between two legends in the sport of boxing and literally part of the Mount Rushmore of boxing, in my opinion, especially for the Mexican culture at this point? You have Julio Cesar Chavez, the king among kings in the Mexican culture and in boxing. Then you also have Floyd Mayweather Jr., who is renowned as one of the best pure boxers ever to do it. You can't deny the fact that Floyd Mayweather, hands down, has one of the best defenses of all time and is arguably one of the best fighters of all time. I know people love to hate him, but when you look at things, hindsight 2020, and you see the resume, you see what he accomplished, you can't deny the fact that Floyd Mayweather is a legend. Now, if both of these guys in the twilights of their careers in general, and Julio Cesar Chavez actually loves to do these exhibitions. If I'm not mistaken, I believe he did one with Mikey Garcia recently. He also has done some with other legends like Roberto Duran and Camacho. They always have these exhibitions. So I think to see Floyd Mayweather and Chavez in a potential mega fight that would have been incredible and in fantasy, to see it even, in my opinion, to be in an exhibition would be phenomenal. I think this certainly needs to happen, and I would love to see how the fight would play out. Clearly, I think from a tactical perspective, Chavez in his prime, Floyd in his prime, I would have to favor Floyd Mayweather Jr. because I'm a fan of the boxing skills. I've seen him fight that kind of fighter before. I know people are going to cite the Jose Luis Castillo, the pressure bothering him, but in his prime, Floyd was just a different animal. I don't think pressure was the way to beat Floyd. I know people were like, go to his body, do this, do that. That formula didn't work. Didn't work for Canelo. Didn't work for a lot of different people. However, I would certainly think that it would be a competitive fight. I think Chavez does have arguably the best pressure in history. Eventually, I think Canelo may take the mantle of greatest Mexican of all time. However, there's still a lot of body of work for Canelo. And just kind of fast forwarding to the end of his career, and we don't know how long that's going to last. And just like Roy Jones, who tainted the end of his career with various horrible losses, in my opinion, the Glenn Johnson loss, the third loss to Tarver, him getting knocked out by Danny Green, and just things of that nature kind of taint the aura that you had. But I don't think Canelo is going to be that, I would say, stupid in ruining his legacy. However, I would love to see this fight. Let me know what you guys think. I would pay for it, take my money, even if it's not the most serious barn burner of a fight. I do think Chavez takes nothing lightly. And I think, given the fact that he's older in age, I think he knows that his countrymen are going to look for him, and boxing is going to look for him to show his best. And I think Floyd would honestly sit there and try to trade with him for boxing and to make a lot of money. Look, this fight, Chavez versus Floyd, the exhibition, would do over 1 million buys. Especially nowadays in the boxing culture, people are thirsty for really good exhibitions, as you saw with the Tyson Roy Jones, the other fights like Floyd Mayweather and Logan Paul. And when you're seeing Canelo Alvarez, who is the pound for pound number one, the biggest star in boxing, doing 800,000 pay-per-view buys. You look at the Floyd and Logan Paul, and you look at the Logan Paul and Tyron Woodley pay-per-view buys. Floyd Mayweather does 1 million buys fighting Chavez in exhibition. And we're talking Showtime pay-per-view buys. We're not talking about the Triller Fugazi buys where they would just come up with a number that would never be verified, etc. So I think the fight makes sense. I would love to see it. It's not going to be what it could have been. It's not the fantasy fight we would all dream over, but it's a good fight. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'm going to keep putting out these videos. Content wise, I'm just going to throw some stuff out and stop looking for the perfect story to talk about. Just anything I really feel like speaking about, I'm just going to throw out there. Of course, I'm going to touch on a lot of the main stuff that's going on in boxing, give you my unfiltered opinions, and just keep it up. I'm really enjoying this. We're almost at 800 subs. So if you're not subbed, please, I implore you to smash that sub button. I would love to hit 1K by the end of the year. And if I'm not mistaken, today is the 1 year anniversary where I started the Spotify only podcast for Good Boxing. So 1 year later, we're still at it. I think I have over 250 episodes at this point. I seemingly have gotten better and better. I just love the exercise of putting together arguments in one take. As you can see in here, people are like, oh, you look at your screen and you have a script. No, this is unscripted. I do my own research and I'm coming off the top of here, as you can see in my Zoom. I just like looking at myself while I speak just to know I'm kind of an animated speaker. I talk with my hands sometimes or speak with my hands. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this episode. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. In their prime, who do you got? Chavez versus Floyd? Doesn't matter. It's a fantasy fight, but we will get the exhibition, hopefully.